Hey everyone, Mike from Videomaker here, back with another Q&A session, plus a giveaway which I'll mention at the end of this video. Okay, today's question comes from Randy. Randy writes to our email, which by the way, editor@videomaker.com. Are DSLRs good for run and gun shooting? Well, better than they used to be at any rate. So before I get started, I want to define run and gun shooting. Basically, the idea is shooting without being able to prepare and take retakes. So the idea is you take your camera out into the field, you shoot what you see, hopefully you capture everything you can, and hopefully it all looks great. Run and gun shooting is really popular for documentary style video. Typically, if you're making a movie, you can stop and retake or reposition your subjects whenever you want to, which is not always the case with a documentary unless you're doing an interview. So back to the question about, are DSLRs good for run and gun shooting? Well, they're good, they're not great, but they're much better than they used to be. You see, there's a few challenges you'll run into as a run and gun shooter using a DSLR. The main problem is the DSLR has a huge sensor which makes shallow depth of field really easy to get, but also makes it kind of hard to avoid. Now, large sensors are obviously a great thing for narrative filmmakers, but if you're moving around all over the place and you can't control your subject, being able to keep focus on them can be difficult. The large sensor also makes it difficult to zoom at great distances, and when I say difficult, I kind of mean expensive. On a traditional camcorder, you have something like a 30x zoom, depending on the camcorder. That's because the small sensor in a camcorder crops down what the normal focal length of the lens is. Longer focal length typically means more money, or at least it means more money when you're talking about long focal length all the way to a super wide focal length. Finally, the form factor of a DSLR doesn't really help either. It's kind of small, hard to hand hold in a steady kind of fashion. There's no motorized rocker for the zoom. It's not balanced like something you can keep on your shoulder. In general, it's just hard to handhold and move around by itself. Okay, so fortunately all of these you can kind of work around. The most obvious of which is the form factor. You know, you can just get a rig for your DSLR and put it over your shoulder and put a follow focus on there and put handles on there, and it's much easier to run and gun. As for the lens, you can get a pretty affordable lens for a few $100. Get something like an 18 to 300 and it should give you enough of a wide range of focal lengths. Finally, to deal with the shallow depth of field, just close down your iris to something like f22 so you get this super deep depth of field and it's almost difficult to keep something out of focus. And then to make up for that, turn up your ISO. Fortunately, because of the bigger sensors in DSLRs, they tend to have a better performance with more ISO or gains. So with a camera like the 5D Mark III, you can typically turn your ISO up to 6400 or so before you really start to get noticeable noise. If you're shooting outdoors, that's plenty. Next, you're probably going to want to find an alternative way of actually viewing the video. The LCD monitor on a DSLR is typically kind of hard to see in direct sunlight, or can be difficult if you need to look at it from an angle if you don't have an articulating LCD. So you can get optical viewfinders, which are basically eye cups that go over the LCD or your DSLR, or you can get electronic viewfinders, which are really nice because you can detach them from the DSLR and put them at any angle that you want on your rig, and it is shaded by the eye cup that it's got there. So hopefully, Randy, that answers your question. Are DSLRs good for run and gun video? Yeah, much better than they used to be, especially if you have the money for all the accessories that help you along the way. If you'd like your question answered, tweet us at Videomaker on Twitter, or find us on Facebook at Videomaker Online, or email us at editor@videomaker.com with your question, and hopefully we'll answer it in an upcoming video. Okay, so now for the really cool stuff. We're giving away a Canon 70D DSLR plus a 55 to 250 millimeter lens, a Zacuto Z-Finder optical viewfinder to go along with it, and a Zacuto Marauder. Okay, here's the rig fully assembled. Basically, you know, it's a pretty basic kit. I think ideally you'd probably have a wider lens on here. Again, this is a 55 to 250, which is a little long for run and gun shooting, but otherwise it's a lightweight DSLR, got an optical viewfinder, and just sort of a basic system to help you get a 3-point mounting system on your body for quick run and gun. Now, I took this exact setup, only I used a 5D Mark III rather than the 70D to Guatemala with me to shoot a little mini doc recently. And basically it fulfilled almost all of my needs. The only thing I would say is it'd also be nice to take a monopod as well. But otherwise, for handheld shooting, this thing works great. The 5D is a little heavy on it, especially with a larger lens, but the 70D being a bit smaller feels about right. Okay, so how to get your hands on this kit? Super simple, just basically click on the link provided and enter the sweepstakes. No purchase needed. In fact, I think you can enter 3 times, so might as well throw your hat into the ring. I'm Mike with Videomaker. Thanks for watching.